fans, enthusiasts, my muñaños gamer. This is Jesus from Jesus Gaming, and I welcome you to episode 2 of Continue News and Gaming. And yes, there has been like a few weeks after the first episode. And for those who have been following me on social media, as I had this recent incident a few weeks ago with gaming live streaming, and I just kind of needed to roll back and actually have some second thoughts about content creation at all. And I almost got at the point that even podcast was not at the right time. But after these weekends and the whole last week of Summer Game Fest, I think that I should give it a try. Having like a dissection of the whole week of Summer Game Fest, which previously and on up to a few years ago, it was like the E3 weekend, but E3 is no longer a thing. So we got the Summer Game Fest. We did the same team that brought the Games Award, led by Jeff Kitley. But we got not only about the Summer Game Fest at the event, it's all the news surroundings, the circumstances, and all the hype within the best week for gaming. So buckle up, here we go. Things first, and despite rumors and the noises from the industry that Nintendo will have impromptu Nintendo Direct headlining or co-headlining with the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, unfortunately that wasn't the thing. And I think that it's fair to start things with the launch of Nintendo Switch 2 and what are the early impressions from adopters in the first 72 hours. And as you can recall, back in a few weeks or a month and a half ago, Nintendo confirmed that the suggested retail price of $450 will remain the same for the console itself, and the edition that brings the digital copy of Mario Kart War will be like a $15 more, so a $500 price tag. Unfortunately, everything else just received, thanks to tariff, price increase that oscillates or average $10 to $15 for depending on the hardware or accessory. The constants or the thing that you can see in the internet in the first 72 hours of Nintendo Switch, they seem to be sharing the one feeling. This is the same 2017 Switch, but it's kind of mature, it's shinier, heavier, obviously prices, and unexpectedly ambitious. So that's kind of fair assumption or general sentiment about Nintendo's second attempt of his hybrid console and portable gaming devices. So what are the upgrades? The upgrades, we got magnetic Joy-Cons rails and enlarged Joy-Cons. The whole system more or less is average like 110 grams. The robot size matte shell and the kickstand. What are the consensus? At least the early description is that at least in the Joy-Cons, the magnetic Joy-Cons is universally loved. The snap is gratifying and sturdy, and you can finally detach with one hand. I want to highlight that that was one of the point of Jerry Rick Everything. Is a non-gaming YouTube channel that I've been following for a few years ago, mainly do his durability tests. He initially started with smartphones and telephones, and then he just converted the channel in a big do-it-yourself kind of a content. And he highlighted that he knew that the Joy Cons probably would have been just easy to snap out with some of the force. Now, in the same time, he practically debunked the early concerns about the port that many believe that it will be a weak point of the Joy-Cons redesign. And actually, that was Nintendo really thoughtful on assuming that there will be kind of a market sharing with kids, and kids don't have a lot of curveball like teenagers and adults have with devices like the Nintendo Switch, especially with its price tag. So to have that thought that the magnetic Joy-Cons rail could just snap away with at least extra force, you can feel and you can also watch the durability test on his official channel that he highlight how kind of a internal space the port has to actually play in a favor that the thing doesn't break up when applying extra force. As well, the enlarged Joy-Con, many feel that the adult hand-friendly chunkier stick drifts so far, which I believe that this is not generally reported. While I have seen some people already complaining about the evil drifting, and there hasn't been like a common denominator what's going on if these are faulty early units. But there's one case that I saw on social media that a user not only had drifting, but the self calibration software that include the Nintendo Switch 2 wasn't helping that much. So I think that's a thing that you should keep a head up. About the rubber-sized matted shell, the general consensus is that it makes feel the Switch 2 more or less toy-like and feels more premium with some miss the neo whimsy of the first Nintendo Switch 1. But in my case, my original Nintendo Switch 1, actually, I say my original, is my only Switch 1. The heat that happens where I live is kind of like a summer feeling, 3/4 time of the year, and it's not friendly when you got a room full of humidity. So I got grease like a stain in the back of the Switch, but it's not because it's grease or is stain. It's basically the plastic or the I think the layer of any solution that covers and protect the plastic is was beginning to cook, if you will. And I think that rubberized matte shell will give me hope when I'm ready to adopt one Nintendo Switch 2. For the purpose and transparency of this episode, no, I haven't bought one, and I kind of wanted to play the wait and see game like I did with the original Switch. I think that the Switch I bought it originally in 2018. I didn't just bought it right away. So I waited until holidays to 2018 to actually buy my Nintendo Switch. All right, the display. The Nintendo Switch 2 displays a 7.9 inches 1080 LCD unit, which many believe that the price tag was Nintendo justifying to be like an OLED screen. Unfortunately, it's not. And it can hit more or less 450 nits with auto brightness. Basically, reviewers worried on paper, yet most concede that the panel pops thanks to higher resolution HDR. Uh, those who are really fans or the so-called video files will practically know the difference because, of course, the advantage of OLED screen is they favor black scenarios or black screen, which help have some really needy and enjoyable images, much higher than the LCD offers. Of course, LCD is more cheaper to build rather than OLED screen, which I think that Nintendo wanted to capitalize in every aspect of that. And variable rate refresh is up to 120 hertz exists, but so far it only exists in Mario Kart World and the Welcome Tour. And actually, I had to highlight the Welcome Tour. It is really odd that Nintendo decided that it was a great idea to sell the Welcome Tour when most demos are free, which is kind of a weird move, taking in context that people is not kind of friendly with all the price hike that the gaming industry at all is suffering. With that being said, let's go with the performance and thermals. And I think that the two games that you can compare is the Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition and The Legend of the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Let's start with Zelda. And general consensus and the observed is that the game is locked on 60 frames per second. And the good news is the grass starter that is known in the first version of Nintendo Switch 1 is gone. Meanwhile, a good scenario on how much you can push the power of Nintendo Switch 2 is actually Cyberpunk 2077. In what is called a Steam Deck beating experience, the game can go 40 frames per second in dock mode, which means that the game itself is running good. And basically, CD Projekt Red made an example on how big a game can go exactly fitting to a Nintendo Switch 2 cartridges. There has been report that those who are a good observer noticed that Cyberpunk 2077 on Nintendo Switch 2 needed some sacrifice, of course, some assets and some. I think the panoramic perspective of the whole map of the game had to get some cuts because obviously you can have a PC or console great game being condensed in a single Nintendo Switch 2 cartridges without these compromises, but so far it hasn't compromised the game at all. What all this mean to battery reality? Heavy 3D titles drain the pack in 3 hours, which Nintendo Switch go from 100 to 15% on battery with just 90 minutes of Mario Kart World. Of course, this is in handheld or portable mode. Later in the game, stretched past the 5 hours, but I had seen that these are limited testing, of course. I'm just condensing like the first 72 hours as the recording of this, so I think that there's pretty much room for improvement here. So I think that I'm not gonna go much into it because one thing that I have to agree is that being a launch week, Nintendo kind of resorted on first party games that are already available in the first Nintendo Switch and Metroid Prime 4, which I thought was going to be the proper game launch for Nintendo Switch 2 will have a Nintendo Switch 1 version. So I think that was kind of underwhelming, I should say, the launch. And to say that Nintendo resorted on their party, I think that basically CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk 2077 is the highlight of their party perspective. If you're seeing this on YouTube, let me know in the comments. What is your experience so far with the Nintendo Switch 2? If you're an early adopter, you are waiting for more information before deciding. And by the way, in closing this section, as for the weekend of Sunday, June 8th, I haven't seen any reports saying that there is a shortage or units being sold out. Most of our side of the world stores like Walmart, etc., they still have Nintendo Switch 2 available, which to me is a win because you know that these kind of situations or happy season for scalpers. In my opinion, when scalper loses, legit consumer wins. So, headlining news in the Summer Game Fest weekend that is not part of the event was the State of Unreal 2025 with Epic Games showing up what's next for Unreal Engine and Unreal Engine 5.6 calling it a leap forward. I think that one of the stars of the presentation was CD Projekt Red, and again, yes, CD Projekt Red kind of dominated this week in terms of Cyberpunk 2077 at Nintendo Switch, and also showing what they have managed to accomplish, moving The Witcher from their in-house Red engine, and officially Cyberpunk 2077 becomes the last game ever made in that engine. And as you remember, all future The Witcher's project will be made with Unreal Engine 5. So we got a technical demo as the first thing that jumpstart the State of Unreal 2025. Now there's a clarification, and CD Projekt Red acknowledged that the presentation or the tech demo that was presented on stage is not part of the main gaming development. It's just they took like some concept that might or not might be included in the game, and it will practically condense all that just for the demo. The tech demo was running on a PlayStation 5, ray tracing activated, and at 50 frames per second all the time. And the demo follows Siri, now a professional monster slayer, as she explored a never before seen region of Kobir. And the several Unreal Engine 5.6 features were included. And we got the fast geo streaming, which enables seamless loading of large environment, really good for open world. Night foliage, which creates a dense forest without performance loss. So you can have like a big, dense, and profound forest, a lot with shadows, creatures, and everything. And it doesn't mean that your system will begin losing performance because the CPU has to tell the GPU where are the trees, where are the leaves, and all the animals. Also, mass AI crowd calling, which allow for realistic bustling cities, and that's include how NPC behaves in a big city, and the learning deformer, which enhance characters' animation with muscle move. All that, and including the engine-first animation workflows, which eliminate the need for external animation software, streamlining the creative process, is all the highlight for the Unreal Engine 5.6, which basically it is the sixth main upgrade that Unreal Engine received. And if I'm not saying anything incorrectly, Unreal Engine 5 launched between 2020 and 2021, including the trial process with some Epic Games partners. So there's that, and it's good to see that things are moving on with The Witcher 4. Again, the technical demo might or not be part of the main game, but for now, for the purpose of this event, all what it was shown is not part of the current development of the game, and it's one of the main absent in the whole Summer Game Fest event during Saturday and Sunday is Sony Interactive Entertainment and PlayStation. And PlayStation decided to run its own state of play this past Wednesday, June 4th. And it lined up the digital stage with a presentation that it wasn't just about sleeper teasers or half hinted secrets. It was, or maybe it is either a masterclass in balancing nostalgia with innovation or preparing whatever Microsoft had to announce this next this past Sunday. I'm trying to go past present tense here, but to be honest, if you were expecting first party fees, many believe that it was kind of underwhelming. The only two things that it was first party is the Astrobot with new content that will be going later this year and just adding more levels to compete in the original game. And Ghost of Yotei, which is not a bad thing that we got news and we haven't heard that there is a not a cancellation, a delay for the game, which is normal thing now in the gaming industry. But they use the state of play just to say that we are bound to hear more news closing in the release of Ghost of Yotei. Everything else was just third party, which again is not a bad thing in perspective that yes, this year and early next year, PlayStation 5 will still be receiving games, but it doesn't bring much confidence on first party when Xbox, on the other hand, has been really in a compliant mode, if you will, because we got many Xbox games that you will never hear an Xbox game with a PlayStation logo. And it's kind of like a yin-yang-ish situation that we are today, and to have your main announcement a third party, but I think that I understand where Sony is going with Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. If you haven't heard about this game, it is a new Marvel fighting game, but instead of being produced by Capcom, it's by Art System Technology, or the same developers of Guilty Gear and most of other anime-based fighters. So it was kind of surprising not seeing Capcom in the equation of an anime-based Marvel characters in a fighting game. So the big announcement is that PlayStation Studio will serve as the publisher of the game, with Art System doing the development part, and it was kind of an invitation completely from PlayStation, representing obviously the interest of Marvel Games to making this game, which again is not bad, but this year PlayStation relied heavily on third parties. Another highlights of the event, we got Capcom confirming the release date of Pragmata, a game that has been delayed like 2 times and definitely is coming to 2026. We got a new original game called Romeo is Dead Man. We got a new Lumines game with Lumines Arise. We got Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, confirmed again for July 31st. This is not a new announcement. We already knew that Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a spiritual successor to the original 3 games from NES era. One big surprise, and after a week when WB Games and NetherRealm Studio confirmed that Mortal Kombat 1 will not be receiving new content, we got the premiere within the State of Play of PlayStation, the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, that include the first 4 main games, Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate, and all the portable releases of each game will be part of this collection. And it's kind of a surprising thing, taking in context that GOG, GOG, or Good Old Games already have the PC version of each Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, and 4. Everything else, at least from perspective or what you can get to know thanks to PlayStation, is that Silent Hill F. Despite my theory that that Konami, I'm sorry about that, Konami, in my opinion, is not the same company to handle multiple releases, but I'm kind of surprised that Silent Hill F will go almost like alongside with Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is one big surprise for me. And of course, IO Interactive presenting the first glimpse of the original 007 game that was originally known as Project 007 is first light, and it's an original prequel story telling how James Bond become the James Bond. Evidently, this is an only related thing to Summer Game Fest, but it's funny how this kind of aligned with the Summer Game Fest week. And Game Science confirmed that Black Myth Wukong will finally arrive Xbox Series S and X by August 2025, exactly a year after it was originally launched on PlayStation 5 and PC. And for those who doesn't know what happened or what provoked the delay, the absence of an Xbox version, it was the technical limitations of the Xbox Series S and this strange requirement by Microsoft that if you're launching game for an Xbox console, you need to have both the S and the X versions of the game, which brought some technical challenges because the game was designed to be in top notch, and of course, any top notch software need that top notch hardware, which the Xbox Series X obviously comply, but not the Xbox Series S with this weird memory management. Because of course the Xbox Series S was built to please the casual gamer that probably will be kind of expecting less usage and being using heavily the Game Pass subscription. So there's have been kind of a uproar within some fans, including PlayStation fans, accusing Game Science of lying because it was conveniently acknowledged that the game could be launched in the SAG anniversary, which might have the space or the benefit of the doubt that there was indeed a hidden temporary exclusivity for the console version of Black Myth Wukong. I don't know why people just raise this as a concern on everything. I mean, yes, the game will finally come to Xbox, and regardless if it was a time exclusive or not, I think that people just so much thought on it. It's like don't be a pro platform. I mean, the more that you open your possibilities within the gaming world and not just concentrating on any individual platform, I think that the more the merrier about competition, and more because more competition means more choices for players. And I think that the pro platforming, at least in my case, the past decade and a half, I was pro PlayStation. And for personal perspective, it was my worst time as a gamer because I missed so much things. Being an adopter of Xbox, I just skip all the Xbox 360 experience just to focus on on the last tranche of PlayStation 2 and keeping up with the PlayStation 3. I miss all the Wii and Wii U saga, which I am a believer that the Nintendo GameCube was criminally underrated. So that's my perspective, and that is why I kind of feel like it's so out of touch and out of time to be a pro platform or being this kind of a one platform warrior, because you're just limiting yourself and the possibilities of enjoying more broad games. And yes, each of their own in terms of game exclusivity. Nintendo, you will never hear Nintendo giving out their games again like it was in the early years of the company. But the situation with Black Myth Wukong really raises about the mentality of being faithful to one platform, be a pro PlayStation, pro Xbox, pro anything. And I think that this is the most daring time to be a gamer at all, and we can't give the opportunity of the gaming industry to have the opportunity to capitalize on the division of gaming fans. And I think that is part on why gaming is getting expensive, and not just in tariff or the political landscape of the world. I think that the consumer's behavior is part of the problem too, or at least that is my opinion. So finally, this past Friday, we got the Summer Game Fest main keynote. And of course, Jeff Keighley and his team decided to bring out the last stretch of the first half of year 2025 with many of the announcements that some are were expected. Of course, there were plenty of good surprises and not so much secrets. So I'm not gonna recap all the things. So I'm gonna go quickly with the announcements at glance. We got the Mortal Shell 2 announcement that brought us a fresh trailer of the sequel of the acclaimed Soul Like, developed by a nimble team of just 30 developers. Mortal Shell 2 promised gothic aesthetic, brutal combat, and a challenging world that is unforgiving as its predecessor, and is scheduled for launch in 2026. Death Stranding 2 at the beach. This past Sunday, we got a kind of a main Q&A with Hideo Kojima and special invitees. Geoff Keighley, of course, made the moderation, and we got all the details of what was discussed there in my blog at jesusgg.xyz. Wish I will have this like a shameless plugin. This is my main blog for gaming news in a written form or blog. So you can check out jesusgg.xyz. Other games announced include Chronicles Medieval from Raw Power Games, and it is a real time strategy that invites players to lead vast armies across burning villages and clash amidst armored knights and charging cavalry. Narrated by the actor Tom Hardy, Chronicles Medieval will launch in early access on Steam in 2026. Sega, of course, had some participation with Sony Racing Cross Worlds, which reimagined the beloved Hedgehog in a roaring kart racer. Alongside with High Speed Racing, the title features a surprising crossover with Minecraft, and not to the creative ingenuity of today's games culture, and is set to be released in September 25th of this year. Bandai Namco also confirmed the arrival of Code Vein 2, an action-packed sequel that continues to blend gothic flair with dynamic combat. You can expect this game that includes a stylish warrior battling beastly foes in a world that merges Victorian-inspired aesthetic with fluid, floating magic combat. And it will be launched for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC via Steam for a 2026 release. Also, Epic Games confirmed that his publishing company will be giving us End of the Abyss, or End of Abyss, I should say, a top down action shooter that immerses you in a haunting space station overrun with eldritch horror, launching in 2026 across PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC, of course, exclusively on the Epic Game Store. One game that I have been kind of a following is Mouse Private Investigator for Hire. It received a new trailer that confirms the involvement of the prolific voice actor Troy Baker, and we can expect a character-driven mystery where every clue counts. Of course, this game was in development, and basically, when the Disney company lost the copyright for the original design of Mickey Mouse, this is what we got the green light on having this interesting first-person shooter game with the aesthetic of a classic cartoon in the style of the original Mickey Mouse design. So I think that we are definitely having this game marked as a main target. I have been following some of the updates from the developers, and they have said that they don't want to compromise on a release date because they're still actively polishing the game for every opportunity that they are seeing. So I think that we should give it a chance on not pressuring for a release date. I don't think that this is a vaporware. I think that this is something that is real legit. And if it make an appearance on Summer Game Fest, I think that I believe I should say that it deserves the full confidence and give it their needed time. Finally, and something that caught my attention is War for Westeros, an adaptation for Game of Thrones based on the book series The Son of Ice and Fire, which you can retell the story as we know from the HBO successful series, and is being developed by Austin Studio PlaySide, of course, published by WB Games. The title promises an immersive venture into political intrigue and epic battles within a familiar yet reimagined Westeros, where you can retell the story. And the trailer kind of gives you all the worst that you could expect from the Night War. So there's one thing that you can change. I imagine that this means that the whole Game of Thrones series can be rewritten. And for me, the main event is that we have been seeing kind of a clip from the actress that made Lady Demetrius from Resident Evil Village, or the 8 game of the main series of Resident Evil. Yes, Capcom is scheduled for next year and having like a festivity for the 30th anniversary of Resident Evil, launched in 1996. Originally, the first game on both Sega Saturn and PlayStation, and later ported by PlayStation and having its first remake for the Nintendo GameCube in the early 2000s. When you have the show almost done, they revealed one last world premiere, and we got the surprising culmination with the title Required for Dead, Nightmare for the Living. And this is Resident Evil Required. The new title marks a radical reimagining of the franchise set against the green reawakened backdrop of a devastated Raccoon City. Players will step into the shoes of a new protagonist, the FBI analyst called Grace Ashcroft, and her deeply personal connection to the infamous Outbreak saga, which add layers of emotional intensity to an experience posed to redefine survival horror. And why is it that? Because she's the daughter of one of the main characters, Resident Evil Outbreak original game back in the PlayStation 2 era. And personally, I haven't played that game, and now I got it on my list of retro gaming purchases because I want to be ready to understand some of the context that Resident Evil Requiem will bring when it will be released on February 27, 2026. Resident Evil Requiem will be launching on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC, and I believe he perfectly encapsulates Capcom's commitment to blending narrative legacy with daring innovation. Now, I understand that some might be confused, and yes, originally, when the release of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, it was revealed that the Ethan Winter saga will be 3 games that included the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. But after the performance of Resident Evil Village, it was decided that the last chapter will be the Rose Winters DLC or expansion as the final official chapter. I don't discard that we might heard of Chris Redfield and Rose Winter again in a future Resident Evil game, but I believe that Resident Evil Requiem will practically give us a little break from Winters and Redfield because Chris has been headlining many Resident Evil games. One, Code Veronica, 5, co-headlining Resident Evil 6, his surprising entrance in Resident Evil 7 as part of the one of the first expansion of the game, and then his mystery of almost being like a bad guy in Resident Evil 8 Village. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling too much if you haven't played the game. You should play it and you should play every Resident Evil game. So there was that. That was the Summer Game Fest main keynote, but we got some minors event that I will not cover in this episode. In my blog, jesusgg.xyz, I got all the post event that were presented in the Games Awards channel by this past Saturday. If you're seeing this on YouTube, the link is on the description. Now, and to close this episode, we got the Xbox Game Showcase premiered this past Sunday, June 8th, 2025, and it was interesting to see a lot of PlayStation logo in this event. I think this is the first ever Xbox Game Showcase where you actually see more logos of PlayStation rather than the whole state of play, which was kind of funny and ironic at the same time because, again, like I said early in the episode, exclusivities has its appeal, but not for Xbox anymore. And for those who have been seeing kind of a 180 turns from Microsoft Gaming, it's understandable that they are kind of mixing proactive and reactiveness from the gaming industry and the gaming market behavior, if you will. But Microsoft is to make revenue, including having to capitalize on the purchases of Bethesda, Cinemax Studio, and recently Activision Blizzard. Microsoft needs to see some improvements in revenue, and it's not that they are sacrificing hardware as a whole, but they are associating hardware from partners to have like a connection with the Game Pass and having their own in-house hardware for niche consumer, much like it is the Microsoft software computers. It's a niche thing for computing enthusiasts. You're not obligated to have a Surface to use a Windows PC. You can build your own PC like you always do. And that's the thing that I am associating this mentality that Microsoft Gaming is having with Xbox. Yes, they have their own hardware, but now you can have Xbox Game Pass and other hardwares like smart TVs and certain device that it was announcing also that I will be talking about soon. So that is why this kind of Xbox game showcase for me really shows what's the future of Microsoft Gaming and Xbox as a brand and as a first, second, and third party game producers. So, of course, the show opened the floodgate with some monumental revelation on AAA games, and this included the sequel of Grounded with Grounded 2, the Outer Worlds 2 by Obsidian Entertainment, part of the umbrella of Bethesda, which is under another umbrella, which is the Xbox Game Studio. And the Outer Worlds 2, as we are close to his official release this very year, they dedicated a whole hour for all the expectations and features that you should expect for the game. We also got some indie ingenuity and genre-defined surprises, like there are no ghosts at the Grand. And this ambitious project, particularly from Friday Sunday, blends home renovation with supernatural mystery and a dash of British musical flair. By day, players immerse themselves in a restoring dilapidated seaside hotel using magical power tools, complete with eccentric NPCs, including a talking cat named Mr. Bones the Bastard. Kind of a curious name, belting out the punk and scat tunes. But as darkness descends, the game seems to transform into a high-stakes horror experience where every tool becomes a weapon against spectral forces. This genre mashup is a testament to daring creativity, pushing boundaries in storytelling and gameplay in fresh, unexpected ways. RPG fans also got the expected announcement of Persona 4 Revival or the remake of the Persona 4 game. More indie favorites like the Super Meat Boy 3D announcement and the new Plague Tale game with Resonance of Plague Legacy showcase also in the Xbox Game Showcase. To tell you the truth, yes, I was aware that this particular announcement was kind of leaked a day or 2 days before, but at least many people just have it like a grain of salt or taking it like a grain of salt. And it sucks that things like that got leaked, in my opinion. Returning about the hardware that I was speaking about a few minutes ago, Microsoft announced in association with Asus the ROG Xbox Ally and ROG Xbox Ally X, which the X is the main version and the ROG Ally is the regular devices slated for a holiday 2025 release. This handheld gaming PC promised to deliver the full spectrum of Xbox game on the go, merging console quality performance with the flexibility of a PC integrated seamlessly with the Xbox Play Anywhere. This device allows games to transfer and progress and achievement effortlessly between console, PC, and mobile gaming. So the key features diverse for the ROG Xbox Ally introductory version. The handheld gaming PC is integrated to access console and PC game library, Xbox Play Anywhere, and the Xbox Ally X is the enhanced variant with potential turbocharged performance and optimized immersive gameplay. Of course, both devices are set up with the Ryzen AI, and the Xbox Ally X is the most powerful variant of the Ryzen AI CPU. So with that, it brings us with the Xbox Play Anywhere Revolution, which was one of the highlights also from the Xbox Game Showcase, and it was the heart of the whole event. It was a resounding thing and a commitment to putting players first. It doesn't matter if you're on the go, if you're on a computer, if you're even in an Xbox console. There's Xbox for everyone, including the expansion for Indiana Jones games, Orders of Giants, which is kind of a new adventure that we'll have included for the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And finally, and to close the event, I'm gonna be honest. I thought when I was seeing the final world premiere, I thought that we were seeing the new Halo game or the Halo being built on Unreal Engine 5 instead of the original engine that 343 Industry, now Halo Studio, inherited from Bungie. But no, the last worldwide premiere is actually the new Call of Duty game that is scheduled to be released in fall of this year with Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which will have David Mason again as the protagonist. For those who doesn't know, David Mason is the son of Alex Mason, the original character of the first Black Ops games. In Black Ops 2, it's kind of a mix between Alex Woods and David Mason. And it seems that we are heading back to this kind of game that we got the past retelling the present and vice versa with Black Ops 7 and the return of David Mason. Now, talking about Halo, we got Phil Spencer closing statement that we are inbound for more news next year in 2026. And like I said a few minutes before, Capcom is scheduled for celebrating its 30th anniversary of Resident Evil. Microsoft is scheduled for celebrating its 25th anniversary of Xbox as its new head of Microsoft gaming efforts. So it's fair to say that yes, indeed, we are bound of the remake of the original Halo with Halo Combat Evolved, but instead of being using the engine that Microsoft inherited from Bungie after they parted ways, we're gonna be seeing the first Halo game with Unreal Engine 5. I have high expectations, especially if Microsoft feels more confident that Halo Studio can tackle more Halo development without needing resources from Bungie. Because let's face it, 343 Industry never nailed it on mastering the engine of Halo being built by Bungie, and things became really clear by Halo Infinite with so much hurdles in the multiplayer part of the game. And while it did serve as a soft reboot to introduce people or new players to what is Halo about, what is the legend behind the first 5 game and the prequel Halo Reach and the side games Halo Wars. So I think that with Halo Studio, Microsoft want to give a new presentation, and Halo being developed for the first time on Unreal Engine is the clear message that Microsoft is do or die, because probably they feel that they don't have anything else with Halo if this doesn't move on. I remember first reporting this when I was a blogger for the now retired gaming social media GGS TV, when we were already hearing rumors with Bloomberg and Jason Schreier having sources telling that Microsoft was already testing some concept with Unreal Engine, and still Halo Infinite still maintained with the old engine from Bungie. So I think that moving on things and converting 343 Industry to Halo Studio, I think that Microsoft might have something interesting to show us next year. So that is it. And a busy gaming weekend or a complete week. So let me know in the comment, what are your thoughts on all things discussed here for the Summer Game Fest week, regardless of the Nintendo Switch, Unreal Engine presentation, Xbox, PlayStation's own presentation. Should PlayStation be more like a friendly company and actually have kind of a presence, not in the Xbox Game Showcase, but in the Summer Game Fest keynote? Do you believe that next year may be a better year? For this and more gaming content, news, info in general, please hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell for all this and more via YouTube. If you're listening this on Spotify and the major podcast platform, please consider the subscription. This was Jesus from Jesus Gaming. Health and success. Happy gaming. See you next time.